Amendment 81 in names of Deputy Harty and Naughten. Deputy Naughten.
Yes, I move this, Chair, and I promise the Minister I will be brief in relation to it. Minister, this is an issue that I think is continually raised with us by hauliers across the country. Now, look, I'm not bad at maths, but I think it needs to be an actuary to work out the calculation that's involved in relation to it. So I'm not going to go into this by any manner or means. But the difficulty is that the rebate system that is in place at the moment has a cap on it. And if there's a spike in oil prices, then hauliers are the ones that are going to carry the can in relation to it. Now, I know that your officials and the officials of the Department of Finance love certainty. But sadly, in terms of oil prices, we're not going to have certainty going forward into the future. We've seen what has happened when there was an impact on production already this autumn, led to a spike in fuel prices. We're talking about a region of the world which is inherently unstable, with piracy going on there at the moment, and we shouldn't have a situation that Irish hauliers and Irish exporters are the ones that would end up footing the bill for instability in the Middle East. So because of that, I think there needs to be far greater engagement with the hauliers to put a robust system in place, and that's why I've tabled this particular amendment.
Thank you. Deputy McGrath, as he has 87. Discuss together.
Yeah, thanks, Gearlock. I'll be relatively brief as well. Minister, there was much welcome within the haulage sector for your statement on Budget Day that you would provide additional relief through the diesel rebate scheme to hauliers to compensate that sector for the increased cost of fuel. And of course, when the finance bill was subsequently published, it was examined by the sector, and I think it's fair to say they would be of the view it does not provide additional relief to licensed hauliers in respect of the increased cost of fuel following Budget 2020. They would claim that under the formula currently proposed, diesel prices would need to rise by an additional 5 cents before the full relief is granted to licensed hauliers under the diesel rebate scheme in respect of the increased costs arising from the imposition of carbon tax increase. They've made a number of proposals. I know they've been in touch with you and the department directly, Minister, proposing that, for example, the rebate scheme should be triggered at a rate of 60% of each cent above €1, as opposed to the threshold of €1.07 at present. And they've also proposed an alternative in relation to the future-proofing the relief itself, that to achieve the maximum rebate possible under the scheme should rise to 9.1 cents as well, to ensure that they continue to receive additional relief. So that's the proposal. I think it's fair to say that they are disappointed with what has emerged from the finance bill. They do not believe it will provide the relief that was promised in Budget Day.
Deputy Doherty.
Yeah, briefly again, Minister, you'll be aware that we've called for in the last two alternative budget in Sinn Féin for a change to the rebate scheme, particularly in relation to the point of trigger in relation to the benefits. There is an issue across the sector. That issue could be exacerbated in relation to Brexit, but regardless of that, there is also an issue, and further now compounded by the introduction of carbon taxes on fuel. So I think that there is a need for a greater look at this. The amendment calls for a report in relation to this, and I think that would be welcome. And I think that should be furnished to the committee in a timely manner, so that we can examine the impact of this relief and whether it is targeted in a way that provides benefit to the haulage sector, which is an integral part of our business sector in the state.
Thank you, Deputy. I agree with what many of you have said, that the haulage sector and the ability to move goods through our economy is an integral part of how our economy functions. And it is in recognition of this that I announced in my budget speech that the diesel rebate scheme was being enhanced. The marginal repayment rate will increase from 30% to 60% when the retail price is over €1.07, exclusive of VAT, up to a maximum repayment rate of 7.5 cents. This measure will apply to fuel purchase from the 1st of January 2020. This represents a very significant increase in enhancement of the terms of the scheme. By way of example, the current average price of a litre of diesel is €1.09, which, if used as the average price under the current scheme, would entitle qualifying operators to a rebate of 2.8 cents per litre. Under the enhanced scheme, qualifying operators would be entitled to a rebate of 4.4 cents if the average per litre price of €1.11 exclusive of VAT were to be used as the basis for calculating the rebate. In other words, in the example outlined above, an additional 1.6 cents to the average price of a litre of diesel would be matched by the additional rebate amount. The enhancement is intended as a temporary support measure. This scheme was reviewed in the Tax Strategy Group papers this year, where it was noted that it has been the subject to criticism from an environmental perspective. And what I propose to the deputies is, it is my view that the commitment that I made on budget day has been delivered through the change in the scheme. I'll circulate to deputies our view regarding how the change in the scheme does compensate hauliers for an increase in the higher carbon price, because we believe that has been the case. I believe the change in the carbon pricing is being used to see if more fundamental changes are merited or needed in the scheme. I don't believe they are, but what I'll do is I'll circulate to deputies the note of a worked out example of the change in the enhanced scheme, and maybe the deputies might consider that before we get to report stage.
Is that okay? How stands your amendment, Deputy Naughten?
I withdraw, please, to be introduced on the basis of the Minister's comments.
Thank you.